start off. Now, you guys know who am I? My name is Sudeep, and I'll be your trainer for today. All right, so we'll be having a complete walkthrough. We will be dealing with services on Azure services. So the way I would teach you guys is would be compute, storage, networking, and monitoring. All combined of this will be your Azure. Of course, we have different people coming in for Azure DevOps and those kind of things. We will be dealing with how we deploy virtual machines or any kind of services by using Terraform. This is solely to build your career. And from the next week onwards, it'll be a deeper aspect where I'll be talking about Azure storage. From Azure storage, I'll be coming from the microscopic level, that is your Azure storage architecture. So I guess Rajat will be dealing with that a bit before than that, so that you have a basic idea what I'm talking. That's a habit that would be level 300, but I will teach you the gist of how Azure architecture works and what actually works. Okay, let's go. So, features of Azure. Now, can anybody tell me what you understand by this term features of Azure? What do you mean by this? So, there are top features, right? So, what are they? Your Azure virtual machine is one of them. Your container service is one of them. Your Kubernetes is one of them. Your blob storage, your files, your machine learning, your Azure search, your express route, anything dedicated to your Azure Redis cache, or your Azure batch, your data factory, your load balancer. These are the top features actually. But of course, I can't say top because every time it's going to change. Every week it's changing. So understanding these concepts is very important. So let's go ahead. What is cloud computing? You already know this is a slide which I picked up from Rajat, and comes your top features. So that's what it is all about. Now, we understand. So your thought process should be on these levels. Compute. This is from IntelliPath, which I grabbed them from on the screenshot. This would be better off than me drawing about it. So you have the top services, not necessarily the top services. You have content delivery, your hybrid interaction, storage, networking, analytics, and identity access management, and web. So computing, you know about it. What is computing? So these are the services where you're managing your virtual machines. You support remote application, whether it is containerization and batch processing. So if you go to all services in your portal.azure.com, I don't have access to it, but let me see if I can pull it up quickly. So if you look at the portal, you would find under all services, if you tag it, you will find every detail about those things. I hope so. You have gone through it. If not, I would recommend you to go through that and we can go with it. Okay, so everybody has created virtual machine. So my one question to each one of you is that what happens when you create a virtual machine? Quickly. Everybody has created virtual machines here, I presume so. And I really know that you guys have created. What does happen when you click on review plus create? Can anybody tell me? So should I pick up anybody?
It
Yeah,
goes for
go ahead, Chaitanya.
validation,
Yeah, exactly. So what happens during the validation?
whether the selected configurations are there or not. It checks for that one in that region, the selected region.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, go ahead. What actually happens? I know that it goes and validates whatever you inserted is correct or not. That's what they look for, characterization and numerical things. But what happens there? So if you have noticed, they would tell you that this is what has happened here, and that is what is the regions we have selected properly, your username and password, and all these kind of details. Correct? That's whatever you insert in each tab is verified correctly or not. What happens after you
Yes,
click on review plus create? Validation is done. It says go ahead. You're ready with the machine. You click on create. Now what happens? Anybody? This is one of the most top asked interview questions which they ask you. What happens when I deploy my virtual machine on a blade? What does it? What are the first component does it deploy?
So they're checking that hardware requirements and they went to data center. So they eq- equipped that storage and processor, everything physically.
Okay. Anybody would like to add anything to that?
Network port, and which is we given the configuration. So that to through that configuration they create a one virtual machine in that database. So in data center, one of the data
Okay.
center.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else would like to add to this point? Should I ask questions to the individual person, or would you like guys like to talk about it? Come on, guys. I'm not here only to blabber. I would like each one of you to put your thoughts about it. If this is the case, then there's no point in us taking trainings because we would like to have a bit of an interaction. So far, it's okay. But
Just one thing to add here. Just guys, let's make it interactive. Okay, so it will be like a great if you can answer the question if anything is asking by the trainer or something like that. Okay, so I would expect that everyone to equally participate in these sessions. Okay, so this is for you only. We are doing so. Please uh, accept the fact and include yourself in these discussions. Yeah, yeah. So
see,
Deepak,
if, yeah, it is doesn't matter whether you're right or wrong. Just go for it. So we know where you guys are standing. Of course, many of you guys are working, but what I see is that many of you are not even confident enough in answering. But okay, all right. So let me show you what actually happens. This is actually out of the base topic, so let's go for it. As let me take a quicker, so everybody's able to view my screen. All right. So as you say, we deploy, as Chaitanya had said, we deploy virtual machines after it validates everything and then it pushes out. Correct. You're right. There are a couple of types of ways to do that. So if you are the person who's deploying the resource, you're going to use it will be Terraform, it may be your GUI, you can use Node.js, you can use Python SDKs and stuff to deploy resources on Azure Cloud. That's the same thing which happens to AWS. That's the same thing will happen to Google Cloud. Now, what happens? Now, what happens is that when you deploy, when you say review plus create or create, when you start deploying it, the first thing what happens is that it is going to hit your arm. Correct? Now, I'll ask the question, what is an arm? But we'll get into that later. Now, arm will see, okay, this is what he has created, and these are the things which needs to be done for a virtual machine, a simple virtual machine. So the first thing what happens is that it's going to create two perfectly files. One is SRV and the other is TRD. SRV contains is your entire XML format of your entire request. What is in that? I'm not going to go deeper into this. It's a different ball game. I'm not going to go deeper into this. Once this passes as the files are split, and only one of the main important files is the SRV file. This particular file contains the versioning of your file. It contains details of your system. What sort of an operating system do you have? What is the username and password? Which zone that you would like to push this VM? Does it have an additional disk? Everything is in this location. TRD is not much of a detail. This one, it is used by product engineers for detailing what has happened to the machine and stuff. This is not meant for you guys. Uh, so let's not worry about this for now. We will talk about this when we are troubleshooting. So once this batch is passed away, you would have resource providers. So what are resource providers? Your compute, your storage, your networking is your resource provider, correct? So let's bring this arrow here. So you have resource providers. So we will call as CRP. SRP, and you have something called as NRP. So this would be compute resource provider, storage resource provider, and network storage resource provider. When you look at your screen very carefully, your compute, storage, networking is all interlinked. Whether it's a public IP address, whether it's a private IP address, whether you're using an additional disk, what sort of an operating system, everything is fine. Many other times we don't use monitoring at that particular point of time. We use tags, we may not use tags. Choice is yours. These three resource providers, there are multiple, but these are the three main resource providers, which is very important for us, interact with each other. They are not separate entities, they are together. So this file will pass all through all three. All right. So the compute will start putting it onto it passes to a TOR. When I say top of the rack, you would find a fabric container or fabric channel. We will have a pure discussion on fabric container. That's a huge, beautiful discussion. Then your SRP will move into this and will go into the storage cluster. We also call it storage stamps. Now, once this passes through the storage stamp, you have multiple. It can be up to 35 to 40 to 60 petabytes. I'm talking about petabytes. I'm not talking about terabytes, petabytes. How does that work? We will see it in Azure storage architecture. Stay tuned. This in detail we'll go through. And finally, we have the RMN devices. What we say is the RMN devices that is your remote networking sources. Right? We need to talk to our machines. We need to talk to our clients. We need to talk to our stuff like. So once this all is done, the same way it is going to come to the user stating that it has been deployed successfully. That's the whole thing which happens at the back end when you're deploying a virtual machine, let it be a SQL managed instance or anything. That's what happens. So once it is done, you get the review point. Hey, your virtual machine is ready and you can use it. Of course, during deployment, you have multiple error messages. We will talk about it in detail. So don't worry about that. So far, clear? I hope so. If everybody is clear, please raise your hands quickly so I can move on to the next part. Quickly, guys. Or nobody? Srihari, Zaveria, Shubham, Rakesh, Rajat, uh, Krishna, Kamalesh, you guys are okay with it? Okay. Okay. Kamalesh is fine. That's it. Nobody else. Then we will begin taking this training then. So what did you guys understand? When you're troubleshooting anything, this is what the knowledge comes in. If you don't know this, then you can spend hours on technical calls. It is not going to help you. Then there's no point in taking this training. Okay, great. Okay. So once this happens, once this entire thing happens, we get the details. You can find the logs, what has been done. The first component actually happens is your resource group. That's your container, right? Where it holds every date information of what you have, what you're saving out there. That's the part. So this is the tidbit of your Azure Virtual Store, virtual machine architecture. We'll be talking in details of those things. I will be talking about Fabric Channel, Fabric Controller, Fabric Channel, Azure Architecture, and storage. That's all there. So let's not worry about it. So these are the top services for Azure. But how do we approach? Many of us go through certification. Yes, great. Going through certification is very important. We talk about what do you say? We talk about AZ 900, AZ 700. What else? We have AZ 900, 104, 305, 400, 700, 500, all these things. So everything come is actually built upon this. So I will be dealing, we all will be dealing with, the trainers will be dealing with compute, storage, networking, security, and monitoring. We will be having walkthrough labs for almost all every modules. So you guys can practice along with us, and we would put you in designated groups so that you guys can learn better.